Today we have an interesting guest who is a client that I had a little over a year ago. Now, many people think that healing with hypnosis refers to primarily to health problems, to problems with changing your physical body in some way or changing your emotions or something. But there are other forms of healing. And one of the forms of healing is to overcome what could be considered a disability. Now, my guest today is Roger O'Brien. Roger is a high school student at Kingwood High School. Roger, you came to see me about a year ago. Do you remember what was happening about a year ago?
Yes, I wasn't doing very well in school.
Right.
Yes.
At the time that Roger came to see me, his mother brought him because he was not only not doing very well in school, he'd failed about 4 subjects, and he was going to summer school to make it up. Now, the reason that Roger really wanted to try to make it up is because that Roger is a football player, and he's an excellent one, aren't you?
Yes.
And the reason that you were feeling so depressed at that time is because of the no pass, no play rule.
Yes.
And that you couldn't play football if your grades weren't brought up. What happened then? Did you?
I could not handle it. I could not pass it. I couldn't comprehend, couldn't learn the material.
Yeah, you failed?
Yes.
Failed the algebra?
Oh, yes.
And then you failed the pre-algebra?
Yes.
And I think you were taking some other courses too. You were taking typing and,
yes.
and record keeping or something,
yes.
and you were failing those?
I wouldn't pay attention, and I wouldn't, if I couldn't do the work, then I'd just give up.
Yeah.
And when I would have to take a test or some kind of paper, I'd just blank out and wouldn't want to do it.
Right. At the time, you know, you had those fears and those feelings about yourself, and you had a really low self-esteem in all areas except football. You knew you could do good in football, remember?
Yes.
And so you were really good at football, but you couldn't play.
Right.
Because you had to pass.
Yes.
And you were failing about 3 or 4 subjects. And after that one session, you remember that you were feeling a lot better about yourself. You had a lot more confidence. And you went back and it was another week, I think, until your final.
Yes.
And then you came back the day of your final to see me the second time. And that day, you were feeling really good, that you'd done well,
Yes.
but you didn't know for sure if you'd have aced it or not.
Right.
But you thought, well, you'd done pretty good. And then what happened, do you remember?
I got a 73 and an 83.
A 73 and an 83.
Yes.
Now, what really happened at that point, and that you made a 73 in that course.
Right.
And but at that time, you had brought it up from a 30. Remember, when you first came to see me, your average was a 30.
Yes.
And you came to see me the second time, and you'd taken the test, and then you got a call or something from your dad, and your score was a 60. And your mother said, oh my gosh, you know, that's not good enough, you know, it's only a 60. And she started getting angry and upset and everything. And I talked to her about it, and I said, wait a minute. Do you see what he's done? He's not only raised his score, but he's doubled it in the past week, you know, and that's almost impossible. So you had raised it from a 30 to a 60 in a week. And then you said that your final grade was a 73. And then the second semester of that, you made an 83.
Yes.
So you made a D and then a B in the 2 different semesters of pre-algebra.
Yes.
What are you doing now?
Great. I just got an 80 on my geometry test.
You're taking geometry?
Yes.
And you've already taken algebra and passed it? Excellent. So you're doing well in math?
Yes.
You're doing well in
I
all your
can easily comprehend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the techniques that we used and the things that we worked with, Roger, back in the beginning, and we had 4 sessions last summer, remember?
Right.
And those 4 sessions we worked on overcoming your learning difficulties and helping you to improve and release any blocks to learning.
Right.
And the reasons for it. And so what we used was hypnotic regression. And you remember, hypnotic regression is where you go back in time while you're in the hypnotic state. You go back to find the original reason why you had a problem, what caused it. Because with most people, there's an original sensitizing event, something that happens that causes that problem in the first place. And so you went back to something that happened in the 1st grade. Do you remember what that was that happened
Yes.
in the 1st grade?
My teacher, she told me I wouldn't amount to anything, and I was no good, and I was always getting in trouble and kicked out of the class. And
yeah, and then that was in the first grade. Then you had something happen in the fifth grade.
The same thing.
Same
Teacher
thing?
always, oh, get out of the class, and you won't amount to anything, and you're not smart enough, and you won't be anything in your life.
Right, and your mother at the time took you to see the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed you as having attention deficit disorder, which means that you were hyperactive and that you were active, but really what you had was a very low self-opinion.
Right.
What do you think about yourself now?
Great, positive, and I also had an agreement with my mom that if I would do well, she'd go back, get a real estate license, take the SATs, and she's done it and passed.
Excellent.
She has a
Excellent.
real estate license now.
Excellent. Now, your agreement with her was that if you started passing, that you were going to wanted her to do the same thing,
right.
so she's done it now. Excellent. Excellent. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience and tell them a little bit about what your experience was? Would you like to describe?
I went from low esteem to a high positive attitude.
Yeah, and you did it in
on my own.
On your own?
Yes.
And you did it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You did it in about a month, wasn't it? Or
yes.
Something like that?
Yes. Thanks to you.
Yeah. So that shows that there's no disability of any kind. You know, and it also helps to build your self-esteem.
Yes.
Because when you start making grades like that, and you know you can, then you know that you're capable of doing anything. And you know you are now, don't you?
Yes. Just believe in yourself.
Believing in yourself, and that's the key. You know, so positive suggestions and positive thoughts about yourself are the keys to success. Now, what the hypnosis helped you do was to help you put those suggestions in and have them become the primary suggestion. You know, a lot of people say these things about themselves, but hypnosis helps you to do it. Now, if any of you out there are interested in more information about the tool of hypnosis or hypnotherapy, call our Birmingham office at 205-322-PATH.